Hello, welcome to Native Yoga Center. My name is Tom McLaughlin, and today I want to talk about Kapotasana, the posture Kapotasana, which is pigeon pose, and back pain. And should I practice this pose? And so, what I'd like to use is a model of the spine, and I'm just going to use this yoga wheel to make it possible for me to keep this model in this shape. So when we do a back bend, we have what are called the spinous processes. The spinous processes are the part of the vertebra that is on the posterior edge of the spinal column. And so every single individual, every single person, we have these spinous processes, and some of us have, when we measure them or when they're measured via MRIs, X-rays, they have different widths, different sizes. So some of us, when they're thicker, when the bones start to close in on each other, there's a point where the spinous processes become bone on bone, and or they make contact. And at that point, there really is no more movement ability in between that particular joint segment. So the ideal in a back bend is to distribute the pressure evenly across all of the joint segments, all of the spaces in between each of the vertebra. What can happen is what is known as a hinge. And a hinge in the spine is where we observe that there is greater movement ability in between two vertebrae. And the larger question is to hinge or not to hinge. So I'm 52 years old. I've been practicing Kapotasana for quite a long time, since I was in my early 20s. And I have a hinge at my lumbar spine between my L5 and S1 due to the fact that the vertebra is actually pushed forward. So I kept pushing and I kept pushing, I kept pushing. When my most popular video on YouTube is one that I took of myself, I think 15 years ago, practicing Kapotasana. And, it gets a lot of views and likes because I think people enjoy watching deep back bends. And it's quite exhilarating to practice deep back bends. However, from my own experience, after repetitive use over and over, Kapotasana, multiple times a week, almost every day, I started to experience extreme back pain. And upon receiving information via MRI that I have a spondylolisthesis, I got a very clear view of the fact that I do have a hinge, and I had been relying on this hinge for over 20 years. And so through repetitive hinging on that space, pain appeared. And sometimes in the yoga world, we'll hear push through the pain. It's just a tight area. You got to push through that pain, and then eventually it's going to open up. The problem is, it'll open up a little too much. And so then the strategy is to try to bend less in the area of the spine that is very bendable, and potentially bend more in the part of the spine that doesn't bend as much. And that way we can distribute pressure at an even gradient across the spinal column. So in the question of should I practice Kapotasana or not, I think, there's a lot of factors. Our age, our how many accidents we've been involved in, slash how many major traumas have we taken to the spine? What is the actual health of the spinal column? If you are practicing Kapotasana, zero pain, no back pain whatsoever, and you're young and you can do it, I say, why not? Have fun, go for it. If you're practicing Kapotasana and or back bending and you have pain, I would say Kapotasana might not be a good idea. And to focus a little bit more on back bends, like maybe building some strength very gently in a cobra or a bridge, and needing to let go of the idea that I'm going to look cool. So I heard a really interesting quote from a yoga teacher that I got a chance to interview yesterday on my podcast, Native Yoga Podcast, which I'll be releasing early in part of January with a teacher named Simon Borg Bolivar. And he made a really great comment. Thank you, Simon. He said, when I was young, I didn't care what I felt like. I cared more what I looked like. And now that I'm a little bit older, all I really care about is what I feel like, and I don't care what I look like. And I think that's a really important thing that starts to happen at some point. There's a transition where we push to achieve a certain level of excitement within our yoga asana practice. However, when the body starts to send signals that there is pain and dysfunction, it's really important to start to listen to that. And I really want to encourage you to listen to your body and work in a very smart and intelligent way. So while it's not just a black-white answer of yes, you should or no, you shouldn't, but I think ultimately allow it to evolve over time. Seek out really good assistance and help so that now as I'm looking at pictures of people doing back bends and looking at students in the room doing back bends, I can spot the hinge now. And when we see a hinge situation where there's a really deep bend in one portion of the spine, in the question of should I hinge to hinge or not to hinge, I would say no. At that point, when there is a hinge and there's a lot of pressure really amounting to pretty severe and or pain, then nope, let it go, move along, work some bridge, focus on something else, focus on something that feels healthy, try to get out of pain, get it to where you can practice on a consistent basis where during the day after practice you feel great. And I feel this is really important as I work with students now. I'm really paying close attention to what sort of signals are they giving, what sort of experience are they having after practice, listening, getting feedback, and then and letting the practice evolve according to the state of the being. All right. So if you have any questions, if you are having trouble with pain in your back bends, reach out to me. I'll be happy to offer any assistance or guidance that I can. Check me out on my website, nativeyogacenter.com. And if you're ever in Florida in the wintertime, escaping the snow from somewhere, come visit us. We're in Juno Beach. We'd love to have you. I release a new episode on my podcast every Friday. Coming up with this Friday is going to be episode number 250. I have a collection of 250 incredible conversations with yoga professionals from all over the world: India, Africa, Thailand, United States, Canada, Australia, South America, you name it. I've been able to travel the world through these conversations, and there's a wealth of information and knowledge that you can pick up on. And I really hope that you enjoy. Send me a message. Let me know what you think. And until next time, have a great day. Namaste.